Hey, it's Ryan Sipes. Episode 1. Okay. Chapter 2 is behind the scenes of my year in racing. We're doing a lot of different stuff this year, kind of changing it up. It's a little bit not normal to do a little bit of everything, but giving it a shot. What I'm doing is a lot of work. It's a lot of planning and coordination, because instead of just focusing on one thing, like I have, most of my career was like, all right, for this 6 months, or 8 months, we're gonna focus on Supercross, and that's it, and that's all you ever did. Now when I go to race all these different things, it's like, you can't just focus on one, because then you're leaving all the rest out. So it's, I have 4 different bikes, that I have a practice bike that kind of serves as one size fits all. I practice a lot of different things on it. I have a race bike that's my off-road race bike. I have my 125 that I raced once this year, and then I have my flat track bike. I was going to have a moto bike, ended up doing some different stuff on that, but yeah, it's all done right here in the little town of Flaherty. I take pride on going up against the factory teams and the guys that, their stuff's done in a huge shop with a bunch of employees, and just doing my best, and like I said, I am proud of that part. I think my motivation comes from just wanting to be my best. I want to beat everybody. I mean, that's a simple way of putting it, but I want to win racing from here to there on foot. I want to win on my dirt bike. I want to win in business. I want to win with my family, raising my kids. I don't know, I'm just pretty driven internally just to succeed and try to do well. And I am responsible for putting food on the table and clothes on their back, and buying my little boy dirt bikes, and taking care of my daughter for her cross-country stuff. And so I have to do well. I have to go to the races and win so I can get bonuses and I can get paid, and I have to do these extra side projects that maybe I don't have time for, but no choice. You have to end up doing it. Yeah, growing up, I don't think I realized it as much as I do now, and even more every day, how much my mom and dad sacrificed for both of us boys growing up. We were always at the races. We always had bikes that ran, and we were able to live out our dreams of being professional, dirt bike racers, and I'm still going with it. But even now, it's cool. My dad's in his 50s, and he owns his own business, and he's the main guy that works on stuff, so he has to be there all the time. But even still, it's like, hey, where are we going this weekend? And I'll say, we're going to a sprint door, we're going to a flat track. And he says, all right, what time are we leaving? And he makes it work, and he sacrifices. Sometimes he'll take off, he supposed to work on Saturdays, and he'll take off early Friday and take off with me, even though he's covered up at work. We spend a lot of hours driving in the van and sleeping in the van, and getting crappy little motels, but he's with me just about all the time, and it's awesome to be able to spend that time with my dad. And he just wants to go racing, and he's pumped on it, every time, and goes to the races, works on the bike, goes scout lines, everything else, drives halfway, across the world through the night, no sleep, whatever, and goes to work on Monday morning. And my mom's the same way. She hasn't gone to a lot of races this year, but up until she's right there with him. They sacrifice everything for me. So I'm definitely blessed to have cool parents that are interested in what I'm doing, and just want to be a part of it. Round 1 of the Sprint Enduro series is in South Georgia. It was a little sandy. The woods test was kind of tight in sections and kind of muddy. The grass track, the cross test, was really dusty and fast, and I came in without a lot of prep, because it was in February, and it's cold here in February, but it went really well. I won all the cross tests, and I won maybe one enduro test, but I was able to come out with a win. And it was also key that the bike, we had no clue how the setting was going to be coming into the race, and everything worked really good. So at a Sprint Enduro, there'll be a cross test, which is mostly grass track. Sometimes I have a little bit of motocross track in it. The other test is Enduro, which is pretty much all in the woods, and is about the same as a GNCC trail. Sometimes it's a little tighter. There's just 2 special tests. You do them 3 times each per day, 2-day races. It's probably one of my favorite kinds of racing just because of the intensity you have to ride with to be fast. If you're not that close to crashing the entire time, you're probably not going fast enough. And that's something I kind of like. Sounds weird, but I got to scare myself every once in a while to, like, that gets me going. So you have to be well-rounded because I might win the grass track by 10 seconds, but I get beat by 10 seconds in the enduro tests. I told my buddy it's like a soap opera every weekend. It's like, man, I won the first test. I got smoked in the second test. Oh yeah, I won the third test. I crashed, now I'm down. You know, it's just, you just do this the whole time. And if I was better at an enduro test, it wouldn't be that way, but that's just the way it is. I've been lucky enough this year to win all but one round. It's been fun, man. Like I said, it's probably the most fun kind of racing I do, and that's what I've done the best at this year. Kind of bummer I'm not able to do all of the rounds this year because I think I could have won the title, you know, the championship, but other opportunities arose, and that's the way it has to be done. Last year, end of the year, I had a weekend off, and my buddy Tyler, who was my mechanic last year, was racing he races, I guess you call them sport bikes, crotch rocket kind of deal, in the Moto America series. And he was in Alabama, only about a 5-hour drive down the road. And so I went down, took my dad, we went, hung out all weekend. It was a blast. I didn't realize how cool road racing was, but we had an awesome time watching. And I went over, I knew Josh Hayes from years ago when we were both factory Yamaha. I went over to talk to him, and he's like, hey, you know, meet my buddy JD. And I've heard of the name JD Beach, but came over and we were chatting, and I didn't realize he lived, you know, just about a little over an hour down the road. And anyway, we're chatting. He's like, hey, take my number, you know, give me a shout if you ever want to try flat track. And I'm like, oh man, you messed up. I'm gonna be calling you, you know, right away. Anyway, I did, and he invited me down. I rode one of his bikes, and just loved it. I fell in love with it. It was really hard. Everything I knew how to do was kind of wrong for flat track, you know, the technique, but it was just kind of a challenge and super fun. And I went 3 or 4 times last fall, and by the 4th time I rode, those guys were like, you know, you're doing kind of good. You should try, yeah, I guess it probably started as a joke. You should go do a TT because they turn right and there's a jump and you could probably do good with your moto background. And I'm like, yeah. And then this whole idea of kind of try everything, you know, came about, and I'm like, all right, let's go try a flat track race. I asked JD, I'm like, hey, which race should I do? You know, I don't know anything about flat track. I only rode it 4 times. I've never seen a race or anything. Go in, you know, I built the bike myself, and I don't know how to build a flat track bike. My suspension guy was like, I don't know how to build flat track suspension, and you know, he asked the guy who helped him out, you know, and originally we weren't even going to race the thing, so it was just going to be for me to practice on. I ended up racing on that suspension, and it was good. You know, I guess I don't know the difference in good and bad on a flat track, but started like maybe 8th, passed up to 5th, and I felt good. That was the best I'd ridden all day. I was gaining on the guys in front of me and just slid out at the end of the long straight, put her in the dirt. So that was kind of a bummer. I got up last, came back to 10th. But at that point I was like, all right, I can kind of do this stuff. You know, I'm at least kind of fast at it. Now if I can stay off the ground, you know, I think I could do okay. Everybody said Sturgis was one of the cooler tracks for a TT, for the flat track stuff, and they're right, the track was awesome. In practice, I could tell I hadn't ridden in a while. I was really out of sorts in the first practice, and then second practice is the one that, you know, you do your lap time on for the heat race, gate pick, and I've qualified 3rd, so it was cool. Lined up 2nd, you know, whatever, in the front row for the heat race, and whole shot the heat race. That's when I figured out I could wheelie that jump. You know, on a flat track bike, you only have 5 or 6 inches of suspension rather than 11 or 12, you know, like you would have on a moto bike. And so it was just a single, and you landed to flat, and I was bottoming out every time, and you'd bottom out, and then you know, get all squirrely, kind of head shake into the turn, but you're trying to set up this turn, and when you're head shaking, you can't really set up. So kind of tired of bottoming out. I come out of the corner one time and the front wheel kind of came up. I just caught some traction. I'm like, oh. So I just let it come up and I wheelied over it. Like, that's way better. Now I don't bottom out. It probably saves me a little bit of time. You know, I don't catch as much air. So I kept doing it, and really wasn't that big of a deal. I was like, that's, you know, a lot better than bottoming out. When I came off the track, everybody was freaking out. They're like, what did you do? How did you do that? You know, all this stuff. You're gonna change the way this is ridden. And I'm like, just like, you guys could do it too, you know, just wheelie over it. And a couple guys tried it, but they're like, we're not doing that at full speed, no way. But it all comes down to, for a moto guy, we'd have done that first lap of practice. When the main came around, I got a good jump and I just put my elbows out and got wide, got into the first turn. And, all right, first step's done, you know, I got the whole shot. I wanted to try to get a little bit of a gap, because there were some spots that I was a little bit afraid of a T-bone. You know, if somebody really wanted to, they could come inside and hit me. So I'm like, I'm gonna put the hammer down and try to pull away. Every time I'd try to push it a little bit, I almost threw it away 3 or 4 times, like almost lose the front end or almost lose the back end. And finally I'm like, I'm not gonna pull away, so let me just hug the inside the whole time. And it's funny, the guy behind me was a little faster in the tight stuff and I was a little faster in the faster stuff. But I just stuck to the inside and didn't give him an open door, and was able to pull it off. I was really happy. I was proud of that, because I'm not a flat tracker. You know, I'm a motocrosser turned off-roader. So to be able to win at my second one was pretty awesome. So the rest of my season is not as busy as it has been, which is awesome. It gives me more time to practice and train, rather than just building bikes and, you know, prepping stuff and driving. But so the next month is full on getting ready for donations. So I can finally kind of forget all the other disciplines for a little while and just focus on moto, which is gonna be cool. And then after donations, I'll have a weekend off, I think, and then I'll go to straight rhythm, which I'll do again. This will be my second year. This year's 2-strokes only, so I did it on 2-stroke last year, but I'll be on a 2-stroke again, a TC 250 Husky. That's gonna be fun. There's some big hitters coming this year, but I feel good about my chances. And then the weekend after that is Ironman GNCC, so I have to juggle a little bit of, you know, my practice in there, straight rhythm, GNCC, and all that stuff. But as soon as we get back from Ironman GNCC, I'll leave to go to Chile for the ISDE this year. It's down in South America. It's the paddock, or the town where the paddock will be, is right on the beach, and then right just to the east of that is mountains. So I think it's going to be a ton of different terrain, and should be fun. I've never been to South America, so I'm looking forward to it.